Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today is Karen Clevenger. She is the DeWitt County CENCOM coordinator. And Karen, good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Did we get much rain last night over here? I woke up and it was a little wet, but I don't remember it raining. So,
Well, yeah,
okay.
it did rain.
It did. Evidently it did. Evidently it did.
To keep raining,
You know, and
I
we've
think.
been fortunate. We've skipped on these storms that have come through lately. So everything has
Yes.
gone north or south of us.
It's
So
the bubble, the weather bubble.
we get that
Yeah,
sometimes
we
here.
do.
I feel
Yeah.
like so.
That's wonderful.
Very good. Well, I know it's a special week for you and the staff there in the CENCOM office. What's going on?
It is. It is Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So
Mhm.
all across the nation, everybody is celebrating 911 dispatchers and all the technicians that go in to help all of the dispatchers get their job done.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's been exciting. So last night, Kenny Fire Department bought the dispatcher some Sorrentos for dinner.
Oh, cute.
And we've gotten some special baked treats from staff and companies that we contact if we need any air medical transport. So yeah, it's been great, and it's done nationwide. So they're celebrating at all of the 911 centers this week.
Gotcha.
And so I want to say thank you to all of CENCOM dispatchers and then all of Piatt County dispatchers, because Piatt County is our backup center.
Right.
So we couldn't do our job if it wasn't for them, because they back us up in times when we're busy or in times where our technology goes down. So we couldn't do it without them.
Technology never goes down.
No,
No,
never, ever.
it always.
You know,
it
we
is-
just plan that if it goes down.
Sure. It's so reliable. So reliable. No, very good. Yeah. So special week, and you know, telecommunicators are often kind of they are the unseen folks in an
Yes,
emergency
they
situation.
They
So
are. But throughout the years, their role has become more and more important. And that leads us to the state of Illinois has said that emergency medical dispatchers, so 911 dispatchers that are certified by the state to ask medical questions, are a first responder of a medical emergency.
Right.
And so we start that continuum of care. So we're kind of, you know, the medical professional that you're going to be talking to and asking questions and talking about the situation that you have. So
and there's I don't think the public realizes how much goes into being a telecommunicator. You know, from listening to the person on the line with the emergency to the, you know, trying to communicate with the first responders and coordinate where they're supposed to be and what's going on at the situation. And you know, on top of answering other calls at the same time that are going on during an emergency. So there is a lot to it. It is an overwhelming job at times. It really is.
Well, and at CENCOM, so we're located in the sheriff's department. So we handle if citizens come up to our window and are needing something after hours. We also have a live feed over to the Clinton Police Department, to their lobby. So we're paying attention to that. And then we answer the phone lines for Farmer City Police Department. And then also we have a nuclear power plant in this community. So we are always in communication with their staff to make sure that our community is safe.
Sure.
So we have that. And then also, since we're located in the sheriff's department, we help the corrections officers by lowering and raising the Sally Port doors, like when a prisoner is brought in or transported out. So they are multifaceted. So
and in a lot of communities, they have separate, you know, call centers or dispatchers for fire and police and sheriff. And but in Clinton, you are everything to everybody.
All in one. So police, fire, EMS as well. A lot of centers have separate EMS, but nope, we dispatch the ambulance, which is actually beneficial because then we share all of that information with them
Mhm.
so that we're gathering on these phone calls.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Yeah, very good. So,
So, yeah.
Telecommunicators Week, did I miss anything in that conversation, Karen, you want to put out there for
No,
us?
just if you know a 911 dispatcher, just give them some extra love this week.
Mhm.
And then, you know, I want to say though that this community is so gracious. I work the floor sometimes,
Mhm,
so I
mhm.
answer the phones, and I have gotten thanked more and more after maybe difficult calls where people will call back and thank me,
Mhm.
and that is just so wonderful because it's like, no, you don't have to think about me. A
Mhm,
lot of the
mhm.
times the people that work in 911 are the ones they just want to help,
Mhm.
and they want to help their fellow citizen,
Mhm.
and they don't expect to be thanked.
Mhm.
But as an outsider, sometimes we do need to thank that person because we
Mhm.
don't want to take them for granted.
Sure, very good.
We want to be thankful that they are there 24/7
Mhm.
answering the calls.
Mhm.
And, they're on the holidays. Instead of being home with their family, they're
Mhm.
there ready to take your call.
No question.
So,
Very
yeah.
good. Very good. Well, good stuff.
Definitely.
So, Telecommunicators Week, Karen Clevenger with DeWitt County CENCOM, our guest in studio for today. And I know we've touched on this a lot over the last several visits with you, Karen, but
Yes.
just reiterating that when someone calls 911 or they call the dispatch center for an emergency, they're going to be asked maybe a lot of questions that they're either not
Yes.
used to, or it's
Mhm.
just going to be a little different experience than the last time they may have called. Let's run this
That's
through
right.
again.
So when you call 911 or you're calling the non-emergency number, and then you may think it's not an emergency, but we may think that it is,
Mm-hmm.
or we're trying to determine if it is.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we are going to verify information.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just assume what's on the computer is right
Mhm.
because, well, technology's
Right.
never failing, but it might not
The
be
internet's
right.
never wrong.
The
Yeah,
internet's never wrong, but you know
exactly.
what? It might not be the right location of
Mhm.
the emergency. It might not be the correct callback phone number. So we
Mm.
need to ask those things to verify,
Mhm.
because that would be really bad if we assumed,
Mhm.
because we know what happens
When you assume.
when you assume,
Mhm.
right? So we are going to ask you for medical emergencies, yes or no questions,
Mhm.
but it's super important to listen to our questions and answer them. A lot of times, yes, it's exciting with an emergency. You're not expecting this terrible thing to happen right in front of you,
Mhm.
but please rely on us, meaning listen to our questions and answer them. A lot of times we get information that's just spouted out at us, or like, just shouted out, and we need to make sense of it all,
Mhm.
because again, we can't assume.
Mhm.
So like if someone rattles off a license plate to us, we can't assume that that's the suspect vehicle or is that the victim vehicle.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that we get it right.
Mhm.
So we're going to ask you a lot of questions, but we're not just doing that to be nosy. We're not just doing that because we want to figure it out for ourselves. We're asking that so generally we can understand the situation quickly and then disseminate that information to the responders. We do it by voice and we
Mhm.
do it by the computer.
Mhm.
So anything that we enter into our computer aided dispatch, that is transferred over to the mobile data computers
Mhm.
in the squad cars.
Mhm.
It is transferred to an app that the ambulance
Mhm.
uses.
Mhm.
And so all that information is so valuable, but make sure that you're listening to our questions and answering them appropriately. That is so important.
Well, and if they call, hang up,
Mhm.
and then you don't get a chance to answer or to ask those questions,
Right.
the first responders, whether it's the police, the fire,
Right.
the EMS, they're going to ask those questions.
Right.
So
Exactly.
let the dispatcher get ahead of that process for the EMS, so when they
Yes.
arrive, they have everything they need and can
Yes.
just get right to what they need to do.
Right, because mentally they're preparing themselves for when they walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know what equipment they need from their squad. They
Mm-hmm. True.
know from their ambulance. They know, okay, I need to bring the med bag. I need to bring this bag, that bag, this. And so they're prepared for
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. Because imagine if someone's in cardiac arrest and someone just said, get them here, and then hung up, then the ambulance crew, they don't know to bring in, like if they need the backboard or, they need the cardiac monitor, things like that.
Sure.
So, and that will save time because they can plan mentally on their way there. And then when they get there, hit the ground running and completely start that medical care.
Sure. Yep.
Definitely.
Very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and along those lines, Karen, I mean, I guess remind us, because there has been kind of a change in how dispatchers look for information, ask about information. We talked about this last time. Speak to that a little bit.
The emergency medical dispatch, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, definitely. So it is a protocol that we use. So every single time that you call 911 and you have this particular medical issue, the questions will be the same. The information is the same. The instructions to the caller is the same. So that continuity, that consistency is super important for the patient. It's super important for the responders. And so we are going to ask, what's the address? What's the phone number? Okay, tell me exactly what happened, because we want to determine maybe this pain is bugging you, but it's really a cardiac issue. And so we are going to ask questions, and usually yes or no. Are you having trouble breathing? Do you have a history of heart problems? And then we are going to give you instructions, like if it's chest pain, we are going to give you instructions to take aspirin, the appropriate amount of aspirin that has been approved by our medical director. And then once that happens, the ambulance knows, oh, they've already taken aspirin. Okay, so I'm not either going to give it to them again, or then they need the next level of care type of thing, nitro or whatever, whatever medicine is needed for that situation. So long gone are the days of get the help here and hanging up. It is, we are asking questions, but we're also feeding all of that information to the responders. So it's so good.
Very good.
So critical.
Sure. All of it is. Yep. Definitely. Very good. Well, on that note, Karen, let's take a break and come back and talk some more. Karen Clevenger. She is the director of CENCOM, our guest in studio here for this morning. More to come with Karen on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Noah Atkinson here. As owner of Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs in Lincoln, I know small business is important to our communities. That's why I'm pleased to be the exclusive sponsor of the WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month.
The Vault Community Center on Mr. Lincoln Square in Clinton is a nonprofit teen community center offering an environment for social, academic, and spiritual growth through opportunities and services. They'll receive a $200 gift certificate good at Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs for being our WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month. Nominate a business you'd like featured by emailing us at WHOW@randyradio.com.
Congratulations to this local business for all they do for the community. And don't forget, for envelopes, wedding invitations, signs, banner wraps, and more, go to LincolnPrintersInc.com.
Hey, did you hear about that multi-billion-dollar Roundup settlement?
Yeah, it impacts people who are exposed to weed killers at work or at home, even if you just used it in your own yard. Lawsuits claim it causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a blood cancer.
But we're not sick, so that doesn't affect us.
But it does. This cancer can take 10 to 15 years to show up.
That's a long time after exposure.
It is, and that's why the settlement is paying claims for up to 21 years. If you get sick, even years from now, you could get $6,000 to $165,000 or more as part of the settlement.
So what's the catch?
If you stay in, you give up the right to sue them later.
Learn more at weedkillerclass.com or call 1-888-403-8201. If you or a loved one has or had non-Hodgkin lymphoma, even if they've passed, you must register for benefits. That's weedkillerclass.com. 1-888-403-8201. Paid for by the Roundup Settlement.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW. WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, Karen Clevenger, DeWitt County CENCOM coordinator, our guest in studio for today. Karen, we're talking about, when a person calls 911, what the process is going to look like and all those things. I know this morning you want to emphasize that if you have an emergency, to actually call 911 and not just the general dispatch number. Why is that?
Right. So it's so important to use 911 when you have an emergency. And if you're even on the fence, like, oh, is this an emergency? Do it. Call 911.
Okay.
The reason why is because we can gain so much information, as the telecommunicator that is answering that call can gain so much information from your phone and your phone call. It can ping and get your location. It can get your phone number. We can also ascertain like what type of phone that you even have too. So if you hang up, we have ways to call it back and we have ways to trace it. We just in case like there's a situation that we need to know exactly where you're at. So that is so important, where we don't get all that information on the 10-digit phone number. And also calling 911 is so easy, 911 and then enter. And a lot of phones even have it like on speed dial, or you press a certain amount of buttons on your phone.
Right.
Because those are priority calls in our center. So even if, let's say, a non-emergency and a 911 call were coming in at the same time, the 911 call would get answered first.
Okay.
And so that is so important. And because a lot of times I know it's scary and you think, oh, it's not an emergency, or, oh, it's no big deal, because your brain is like, no, we're downplaying it. We're going to be cool. We're going to be cool. But it's okay to call 911. And we really actually want you to use that service.
Yeah.
We do. We really do.
Do you think there's a component of it where people think if they call 911, it's not an emergency, something's going to happen to them?
Yes. And so what we do is we always check and make sure, like, let's say someone accidentally calls 911. Okay, that happens. And we call it back, but we'll also send a police officer now, and we tell the police officer all the different things that we hear, if we hear signs of distress or not signs of distress. But you're not going to get in trouble if you accidentally call 911, or if you call 911 and it really turns out to not being an emergency by definition. But yes, you can't abuse 911. Now calling it 20 times a day, now there's an issue there. There's an issue with that, and a law gets that, and you're not supposed to do that. But the one call here or there where you're like, oh gosh, is this an emergency? Is this not an emergency? Just use 911. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, some communities have like a 311 for non-emergency. We don't have that quite yet.
Okay.
But, if all you're looking for is a phone number, yes, non-emergency line. If all you're looking for is talk to an inmate at the jail, non-emergency line. But if you're needing any type of medical assistance, if you're needing a police officer because you just saw a witness to crime or something happened, 911 is perfectly fine. And I want to encourage the citizens to use 911.
Right.
Definitely.
And it goes back to just that information piece we talked about in the first segment, that it gives you all, some information that you need, that maybe it expedites the process a little bit too. So, yeah.
It absolutely does, because it triggers a technological waterfall, if you will. And so every piece puts into place for the TC, and then the situation can be addressed much quicker and more efficient, and with a bunch of information.
Sure.
So that's excellent.
Very good. Anything else on that?
No, but it can kind of segue into calling 911 versus we can text 911. Okay. So in DeWitt County, texting 911 is available. Why, Karen, would you want to text 911 instead of call? Well, let's say you're hearing impaired
Mm.
And, instead of getting the relay service on the line or what have you, you can just text to 911. How do you do that? How do you text to 911? So on your phone, like you're going to send a message to someone, just type 911 and then start your message. You can start with the location.
Okay.
All right. And then what's happening? What's the problem? What's going on? To let us know. And what will happen is that text will come into our center and it comes in as a priority. So it rings like a 911 call, but then a conversation bubble pops up for our telecommunicators and they will type back to you and they will message back to you. And so another situation could be that maybe you're afraid for someone hearing you calling 911.
Domestic situation.
There's a prowler in the house. You don't want the other person knowing that you called. You don't want them to hear you talking. Okay. Texting, perfectly great, perfectly fine.
Sure.
And so we want to encourage that because there was a situation one time where so there was a house fire. And if you ever call 911 and it's ringing, what that means is we have 2 telecommunicators that are on duty at all times. So if it's ringing, that means those telecommunicators are already on the phone.
Okay.
But keep it ringing. Don't hang up.
Okay.
Because what happens is it gets transferred to our backup center, Piatt County, and they can get the information.
Sure.
A lot of times what you're calling about is what already the TCs
is already
are
working on. Yep, sure.
But it could be different.
Sure.
It could be different.
Well,
so stay on the phone.
Very good. On that note, Karen, I got to let you go for the day. Karen Clevenger, DeWitt County CENCOM coordinator, our guest. Happy Telecommunicators Week to her and her staff. Network news on the way.
For SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump says that China has